Hi, everyone. You are now tuning in to Vonti Talk with Filmmakers Podcast. We present our final discussion with our special guest, which is the person tracking all the money, honey, payroll accountant, and production supervisor, Jenny Lovin. We hope you enjoy part 2 of our discussion. Thank you. We are back. Hey, Jenny. So I wanted to move on because you were talking about the worst project. Tell us about the best project that you've ever worked on and why. Again, no name dropping, you people. We are not here to throw people under the bus.
Let me drop this name. I have to because it's Broad
Oh, that's
City.
even better.
Broad City was the best job to work on for many reasons. First of all, I started season 1 and I ended season 5, and
Mhm.
I'd been the production accountant, and then I moved up the final season to being a supervisor.
Nice.
I could go on and on and on about why Broad City was the best. I guess it's partly like we were a low budget comedy. It
Mm-hmm.
happened to be a great show. It was super funny. It was super funny to make. Um, we were all a team. First, there are a lot of team. Sometimes like shows you work on end up being like, if it's called Broad City, there ends up being a lot of women on it, which was the case. It's
Mm-hmm.
like weird things where it's like when you work on a job called like difficult people, you're like, oh no, this is not going to be good. But it's like the show follows the name. But Broad City, it had a lot of women working on it. A lot of, because it was low budget, it was a lot of young women who were moving up in positions. Like the costume designer season 1 had been a costume supervisor on a previous job of mine.
Mm-hmm.
We worked together, and now she's a big time costume designer. Same thing, the production designer had been working on other jobs for a while, but she was also she's also moved up too. And sort of down to it, there was just like Abby and Alana were great. They had never really done anything except their web series, so they were just like excited to talk to you and know what you were doing, and happy that you were like on the team, and just like so like appreciative of the fact that everybody was like showing up to work every day to do their project, which turned into everyone's project. And as a result, as many people as possible, including, the grips and the electrics, the camera department, as many people as possible, the set dressers, hung around for as many seasons as possible. We all do like multiple projects a year,
Yes.
but that was sort of the project you wanted to set aside to make sure you were available for.
Nice.
And as a result, we became really close with a lot of people, crew members, everyone, and it made the environment on set and in the office, collaborative. And it was a great show to work on. It was very sad when it ended. But then also I have this ability of people that are like 10 years younger than me. When I tell them I work on Broad City and my dog was on Broad City, they're like, oh, you suddenly got cool. Like that was,
I know
so
that's like when I tell people I was at HBO and I worked on like Game of Thrones from the start, getting it to retailers
oh
worldwide, and they're like, "You worked on Game of Thrones." I always thought the coolest thing about working there was it was in Times Square, and you would come off of the train, right? And I'm heading into work, and HBO would always have this massive billboard on the latest show that was coming out, and so like you'd be going through the churn of so many titles, right? And then I'm like, oh, I'm working on that. I'm working on Ballers. I'm working on Insecure. And so it was always
mm,
really nice because I felt proud, right? I
yeah.
wasn't as tapped in, and I feel like when you're in Hollywood, you're going on a set, like I mean, you're going on a massive studio, right? When you're working at like the Sony and all of that stuff. But HBO was more like an office space. They didn't really have
Mhm.
all the sound stages and. So it was always nice because that made me remember that, hey, girl, you're at a major damn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like studio helping
Yeah.
release content. So, but now that I'm in the creative, I love it even more, Jenny. I really do. Because you guys are really a community, you know?
We are.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And especially like during the strike, the amount of people, like you're like, oh yeah, my people. We're all sort of figuring it out together. Yeah.
Oh my God, I
And
love
yeah,
that.
Broad
So
City definitely wasn't on a sound stage either.
yeah. Exactly. I remember there was one show that I was watching, and I guess they had filmed across the street at the Bank of America because HBO at the time was on off of like Sixth Ave and
Mhm.
Avenue of the Americas right there at that intersection. So there's like a massive Bank of America. And some show that I was watching, I was like, that's right across the street from me. How did I miss that?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
shout out to Broad City, by the way, and the creators of that, because Jenny loved working on it, by the way. That whole
I did.
production was amazing. So,
It was
and
great.
that's really great to hear, right? And now, a word from one of our sponsors. After starting my podcast, I needed to hire the pros to market the content. Are you looking for digital success? Look no further. World Boss HQ is your strategic partner. Their experts turn your vision into a digital masterpiece. From stunning websites to powerful marketing, they've got you covered. Startups or established businesses, they are your one-stop solution. Visit worldbosshq.com. That is WORLDBOSSHQ.com and unleash your potential today. World Boss HQ Digital Marketing. Your online empire awaits. We are excited to bring you this world exclusive teaser from Bad Rabbit Pictures and Movie Pods. They are presenting Age of Prophecy, a sci-fi fantasy podcast done in the style of the radio dramas of yesteryear. Coming soon to all streaming platforms. Visit www.moviepods.com or www.theanoukchronicles.com for all the release dates. You won't want to miss this one. Your myths were born from our history. Let's check it out.
Life. A vile, messy sequence of events before we die. All designed for something beyond us. It has to be. Or else, what's the point? You don't know me, but I know you. I am responsible for your triumphs and miseries. I am Zira and Nilzor, and to truly understand your own story, you must know mine. Your myths were born from my history.
Hi there, and welcome back to Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. But let's pivot really quickly, because you've had such a long career in this, almost 2 decades. You're running up on 2 decades, girl, and time flies when you're having fun, right? Did
Uh-huh.
you have a mentor? Did you have a mentor in this industry? And can you talk to that?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a mentor in accounting. I while I was a PA, I had, I sort of, it was like I said, I sort of jumped from job to job on recommendations, and or I'd work with somebody and they'd say, I have another job, come along with me.
Mhm.
I was on a job and I had to get fired, and it's it's a long story, but the producers felt so bad about having to fire me
Oh,
that
wow.
I had mentioned to someone else that, like, oh, this line producer said they got into accounting, maybe I should try, maybe I should try and get into accounting.
Yeah.
And the accountant on the job that I was working on, which was a tier one, so very low budget, below $3 million,
Mhm.
um, he had actually worked at Killer Films when I was an intern,
Wow.
and I had also worked with him on a previous movie. So this movie, they basically said, "Look, we have to fire you," which is something.
It happens. Yeah.
It was awful to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
But we feel so bad. We're gonna let you we're gonna have you work for Michael for a week and like sort of learn what accounting is and see if it's something. And by the end of that week, Michael was like, you could just do this job. I don't even need to have hired this other person. And I was like, oh no, I don't know anything. This is terrible. But what he did was he said, like, that movie shut down, it ran out of financing. And he said, if you come and help me for a week, I can't promise you'll get paid, but just help me shut down the show. I'll make you a clerk on my next movie, and then I'll get you, and then you'll be a payroll accountant on the job after that. And that's exactly what happened. He got me into the union. He he was there for me. We did like 3 or 4 projects together as I was learning, and he was always so helpful. And when I did become an accountant, when I moved up, I hadn't worked with him for years. But I like, we would see each other socially. I like called him up. I'm like, hey, do you have like an hour to explain to me how to be an accountant? Because I don't really know. And I got hired. So,
Wait, so
and he
shout
did.
out to this guy, Mike. Can we give him the last name so he knows?
Yes. Oh, no, he knows. Michael Wiggins. Yes. And I'm not the only accounting person in New York that has this story. There's can I say the production manager, the line producer on and Just Like That was also, we call ourselves siblings. We're accounting siblings because he was also trained by Michael Wiggins. Like that was,
I
Michael's
love
a
it.
big New York mentor for accounting.
Well,
And
first
then
of
we all
all,
move up.
Jenny, if it's a positive story and you do not mind sharing it, that's excellent because I feel like our mentors need to know that. They need to know that they were important and pivotal in our careers. That's why I say don't name the negative because it's kind of like, we don't want to do that. But if
No,
it's someone positive, because they might not know that they even impacted you, you know?
I'll
Some people
say
don't, huh?
he did know. He knew. I told him.
Good.
He changed my life.
I love that though. I love that. One of my friends, she didn't even know she was a mentor of mine. And it was like, girl, you can't tell. It's like every time I call you, you pick up the phone. I'm asking you 1,000,001 questions. You're never judging. I'm never asking for something. I'm more asking to be taught something, And it was just like, oh, I'm sorry if I never told you. So Naima Torres, by the way, impact producer out of Chicago. She's going to be on one of the episodes as well. So, but no, I think that is really great. Now, I would love to know, Jenny, have you mentored somebody yourself?
Well, I was gonna say that's it. I've like paid it forward as much as I possibly can because I know there's for 2 reasons. Number one, I know how helpful it is to be trained, to be mentored, to know um, how to do something and get advice from someone. And then the second reason is I just want to work with good people. And I just want like my department to be the best, to be kind to the crew, but also know the rules and be organized. And so I generally train everyone that I work with,
Love
particularly
that.
on payroll, because it's very intimidating to people.
Mhm.
And so, yes, I train. I mean, I think I had, I don't think that I did that much for one person. And then every year for 10 years, I got an Amazon gift card for Christmas. And I was like, okay, I think I made a difference in their life.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
But that's New York. I think a lot of people, we all we try to mentor because we were mentored oftentimes.
And I do feel a lot of times, that training is lacking sometimes, even in corporate creative, like people are not taking the time to hand off a template and stuff. And sometimes in this industry, it can be sink or swim, right?
Hmm.
It's all like if you don't know, like you had to call your mentor up and be like, can you tell me about accounting? Right.
Yeah.
It was times where I would be, at HBO and it's like they're throwing them in and the schedule is ridiculous. But I made sure every new hire sat with me and I went through the scheduling because we're
Hmm.
talking about a couple hundred titles at a time being released. And I'm like, when you're in my status meeting, I need for you to know what you're actually reading and seeing, right? because it's a
Mhm.
lot of moving parts. And I wanted them to feel more comfortable. Like, look, this is your responsibility in marketing, this is yours in print, everything like that, because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. And if you're good at what you do, you're not intimidated by other people who are good at what they do. So
Exactly.
what's the worst thing that can happen? You have somebody good that works below you and you help them. Are you afraid? You're not afraid they're going to like surpass you because
Mhm.
you're just going to follow a trajectory too. Like having the confidence knowing that you're good at your job helps you help other people that are good at your job. I just like I always prefer working with people that are enthusiastic and want to learn and are
Yes.
good. So, yeah.
I love that. We are here with Jenny Lovin, the production supervisor and former accountant as well, breaking down everything that she's been doing in this industry. This is Vonti Talks with filmmakers, and we'll be right back. Now, an exciting message from our sponsors. When I decided to launch this podcast, I had the tools to find talent and market the show, but needed a skilled editor to bring it all to life. That's when I turned to Jacob Daly at redhawk.uk. His collaborative approach and swift revisions transformed my vision into reality. Redhawk.uk, your one-stop solution for creative content services. Reach out to them. Now, a word from another of our supporting sponsors, that is Realm IQ, a new AI consultancy started by film marketing veteran Kurt Doty, who has built an international team of AI mentors to help AI change management for your business. Go to www.curtdoty.co/ Realm IQ. Smart people for smart adoption, creating smart worlds. Realm IQ. Book your AI workshop today. Adopt or perish. Hi there, and welcome back to Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. All right, you guys, welcome back. We are here with Jenny Lovin, as mentioned, and she was just speaking on, being that inspirational person, not overly doing it with the competitiveness as well, like throwing people under the bus. We don't need to do that in a creative environment. Learn as much as you can and someone is going to notice, right, Jenny?
Hmm. Definitely. Definitely. And, it's like we all come to this with different skills. I'm working with someone who used to be a second AD, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching her how to be a production supervisor because, I'm like, I'm going to be a line producer and you'll be my UPM. And she's great as a second AD, and that's helpful for this position, but she doesn't know the money side of it. So, sort of helping her, she also helps me learn the part of it that I don't know as well, you know? And so it's like it isn't a competition. There's room for all of us.
It
We
is
can do it.
room. There's enough productions going. I think there was something about I had read with like TV shows being made, and it's a ridiculous number a year, a ridiculous number. So
Yeah.
once you get in there and people can trust that you're going to work hard, and you're in that community of filmmakers and all that stuff, you're going to have work, you know.
Hmm.
But it's more about getting in there. It's like a almost like a secret society a little bit. It's
Yes, it is kind of confusing to break into, I think. It seems very mysterious. But once you're in, you're in.
Yeah, once you're in, you're in. So now let's talk about, and we're going to pivot again because I love doing this. Because I want to know, there's so many shows that inspire me and projects and all that. Right now, I even said One Piece with the anime. I'm all over it. I think I'm probably like episode 800 in. I don't know why. It's just so interesting to me. But are there any projects or comedy projects, because you said you like doing that are out right now that you wish you would have loved to have worked on?
I mean, so many. I can't even like
Top two,
I
top three. If they are
top
listening, they might even be listening.
okay. I would say for sure. So sort of the other people, the one of the big directors and writers for Broad City, they produced a show and wrote a show called Hacks, that is on HBO and Max. It is fantastic. It is so good, and it's great to see them going on. I would say my other two projects I couldn't have worked on. They're British, are
Mhm.
Fleabag and Catastrophe. They're like just two of the best shows that I've ever seen as far as comedy goes, man. Actually, not as far as anything goes.
Oh, I
They're
love that.
great.
So we got a
Very,
hack.
yeah.
Shout out to them. Listen, Jenny was that on your last show. Holler at her, okay? Because she's ready. But then you have Fleabag out of you said the UK, and then what was the other one?
Yes. It's called Catastrophe. It's
Catastrophe.
also out of the UK. Yeah. It's so good. They're
It's
both on Amazon. They're amazing.
what makes them so
Yeah.
good? Like break it down on what makes the comedy, or is it comedy? I don't
I
want to
mean, they are comedy. I mean, I think comedy is I think allows a lot more space for realism because like I hope that your life is more of a comedy than a drama most of the time. You know what I mean? And even when it is a drama, there's like humor in it.
Mhm.
Fleabag is just like an incredibly emotional like journey of a both TV shows actually just have like very imperfect women. Um,
Mhm.
and it's nice to see that on screen.
Yeah.
I think I'm like they're hilarious. Fleabag is like probably only 12 episodes of the whole
Oh, wow.
series, and so it's quick. It's a quick watch. Yeah, and Catastrophe is like they take that awkward humor and they end every show with just the most awkward thing that could possibly happen to a person, and it's just honest, you know. It's funny. Catastrophe is a TV show about marriage and about family, um, and that comes from a one night stand, and Fleabag is about a woman in her 30s, like coming to terms with herself. And those are just like amazing themes to create comedy with, really. Yeah.
I love that. As a screenwriter, you want to create some kind of realism and then maybe elaborate and go over the top. So that probably connects with a very large audience. I'll say my age. So I'm in my 40s. I look very young, but I'm in my 40s. And everybody thinks like I'm really young, and I'm like, no, I just have a little girl face. That's it. And I try not to dress like a little girl, but it does
I
not
know, I'm the
matter.
same.
But
Yeah.
as a writer, that's something you want to delve into and tap into, right? And I feel like as the decades go by, oh no, like in the 40s, you're just like everything's a no. Nope, can't make your event. Nope, I need a nap. Nope, I got to do this. Nope, can't go there. In your 30s, you just finally realize you can't be everywhere all the time, all at once. But in your 20s,
Yeah.
you can definitely be there all at it's like
Yeah.
partying all night. So I love shows like that, and I'll probably check them out. That's Jenny, because you recommended it, I'm going to check it out. Because I'll
Oh,
be
yeah.
honest, for comedies, someone has to recommend that it is hilarious.
Right. Well, I don't have to say Insecure because you worked on it. You know how great that show was too. That
Clarify, I
was
did not
like,
work on the production, but I did work on releasing it to
right.
retailers. And
Yes.
I went
Yeah.
to some of the screenings. I got to meet Issa Rae. She's amazing. We did
Oh, man.
episode 1 and 2 as a screening for employees and stuff. So I kind of ran, I was helping out when she was there. She's amazing. That
Yeah.
woman,
No,
down
she
to
is
earth.
amazing.
Yeah, she's so down to earth.
And that was a comedy that was filmed beautifully too, which is
Mhm.
kind of rare. And that's also sort of like lovely to see a beautifully shot comedy,
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, at HBO, regardless of, all the upheaval or whatever, they really, really value. I do remember being there, and they're just like talent is kind of like number one,
Yeah.
talent and crew and all of that stuff. They're just like the top tier of the company, because you guys are who makes it happen. We can say whatever, but on the corporate side, we're getting fed from the creative side. So they
Hmm.
always respected that, you know. It might not have been what is that? The pyramid of terror?
The hate triangle.
The hate
Yeah.
triangle. I'm gonna use that. Can someone put that on a t-shirt? The hate triangle. You just coming on set like, let's not be hate triangle here.
Yes. No.
But
No.
Jenny, it sounds like because you've had so many years in this industry, I want to also touch on, people's mental and physical health as well, because this industry is very demanding. It's long hours. How do you, know what's too much work for yourself, and what are some things that you do to decompress? Because, yeah,
Um, I have a therapist for sure.
nothing wrong with that.
First. Um,
Mhm.
the hours are long, and it's like a minimum of 10 hours, and sometimes it's 16 in a
Mhm.
day. And so when I'm working, I try to be in it, you know, it is what I'm doing, and I try and commit myself to it. And then the good thing about being freelance, you go from job to job. I say this coming off of a strike, but um, is that, when you're not working, this is like very different from the corporate world. It's like I don't get a vacation,
Mhm.
but when a show ends, I can have 2 or 3 weeks in between a job,
Mhm.
and I don't, no one calls me. I don't have to follow up with anything. I don't need to check my emails. I do, just as a production supervisor and accountant, oftentimes questions come up, but for the most part, that job is like, it's done. It's over
Mhm.
there now. And just having the ability to take 3 weeks off after a show is wonderful. And you also have to sort of, the other thing that I've done is like I don't base my yearly salary on working 50 weeks out of the year. I base it more like on working between like 36 to 40, which means I have downtime, true downtime where I'm actually off. I have a dog, and like, or I used to have a dog, sorry, he died, but
Oh.
it's okay. It's all right. But we would walk in the park, and just like that was always like such a lovely thing. It is hard. This job is hard, and it's like
Mhm.
sometimes you wish you didn't care so much.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, having friends in the industry to talk to helps a lot,
That
I
is
think.
really great. So between
Yeah.
the therapist, friends in the industry to talk to, maybe we'll get another dog one day, maybe
Yeah,
not.
totally.
But I think it was more sitting in the park and just grounding yourself again. And that's one thing. You guys, you are joining Bonti Talks with Filmmakers, and we're talking about how do we mentally and physically take care of ourselves and decompress from demanding hours. And I think people need to understand that, Jenny, and that's why I always bring it up on the show, is that everybody has a
Yeah.
different way, but it's something that is needed. You're talking long hours, demanding industry, and from afar. So just know, if you're getting into this industry, you're going to work hard. There's no other option.
And long, for
Yeah,
very
long
like
hours.
very long.
Yes. And but they that's another thing we want to say, right? Are you there, Jenny? Because you're breaking up a little bit. Okay. The Wi-Fi, we're gonna
Yeah,
mark
you
that. Yeah,
froze for a
it's like
second.
you're going stiff right there. But
Yeah.
to get back to it, mentally and physically taking care of yourself, you're going to work long hours. It is kind of demanding. Unions are in place as well, so they have to take care of you in a certain way, as well. So I don't want people thinking like, oh, this stuff is being illegal and all that. No, there are checkpoints in place, but we're more talking about
Mhm.
how you are after it's done, and how to take care of yourself, because I think that's very important, right? Is being able to bounce back and then roll into the next project. Now, we all would love to be in like Bora Bora or somewhere on a beach after every single production, but there's ways to take care.
Yeah.
But Jenny, one last question for you, and I think this is a really great one. We're here with Jenny Lovin, production supervisor, former accountant, on all of these great projects. If you could turn back the hands of time, would you do it again?
Oh.
Pause, pause.
Ooh. Um, yes, I think so. I mean, I can't even really express how many incredible experiences I've had. in this industry and how many incredible people I've met. Yeah, maybe some things I do differently, but for the most part, it has been like a really fun, exciting job and uh, all-consuming job. But I've also met these like amazing people through it, and yeah, I don't know how you trade that. It's like it's hard to like look back and think, how would I not know these people? You know?
Exactly. I think that's the
Yeah.
hardest thing for me because I feel like in life, you always have those major points, right? It's like, are we going left down the road? Are we going right down the road? Are we going down the middle? And for me, I knew definitively the choice I make right now is going to affect my life for years to come. And it's
Hmm.
very hard. I don't know if you probably had that as well. Like you said, being in school and thinking you were going to be an attorney and then pivoting and
Yeah.
you just leapfrogged into the unknown, right?
Yes, and I think for me, I gave up a long time ago. Like I am just truly an accountant at heart. I am like, okay, you do this for this many years and this for this many years, and you move up this way. And living through a pandemic and then a writer strike, a very long writers and an actor strike, you sort of learn like I'm not actually in control of everything that happens around me. Like I can be in control of my choices, but that, that's it. And just because you think that this is going to be the right thing doesn't necessarily guarantee it will be, but it kind of leads you down a longer path to, it's like you're like, oh, I should have never taken that job. That was an awful job.
Yeah.
And then you remember that you met your best friend there, or
Mhm.
that was the job where you met this other person who then got you this job, and that job created the opportunity to move up, or what have you. It's all sort of like, it's hard to
Interconnected.
it's hard to regret things when everything's like interconnected in the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, guys, you have joined us for Vonti Talks with Filmmakers. This one last time, we have Jenny Lovin here, a production supervisor and a former accountant as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Jenny.
Thanks for
And
having me.
thank you. Absolutely, girl. You rocked it. And also, you guys, shout out to Broad City again. That was one of her favorite productions. Get in contact with this girl to come and work on, what is it, Hacks, I believe you said, right?
Yes, yeah, it's a good thing. I can talk to
She's not asking you to fire anyone, but just
him.
understand that she loves the flow of how you guys do things over there. So I just wanted to thank you so much for joining
Yeah.
us, and I really appreciate you coming on Bonte Talks with Filmmakers, and that is another wrap, people. Bye.
Hi.
You've just tuned into an episode of Conversations with Filmmakers podcast. We'd like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their knowledge. This has been a production of Vonti Pictures, hosted by me, Vonti McCrae, a screenwriter and producer. We'd also like to thank Bad Rabbit Pictures for the animated content and creator of upcoming podcast Age of Prophecy, along with our sponsor, redhawk.uk, with all episodes being edited by Jacob Daly, director, producer, and a man of many talents. Come back next week as this saga continues for the Conversations with Filmmakers podcast.